In the 1800s, an idea developed that the United States should expand its border farther westward to include territories all the way to the Pacific Ocean. The United States hoped to not only expand its borders westward, but also its rule set in religion. This expansion westward is referred to as manifest destiny, an idea that developed from slavery in the cotton gin. More land meant more cotton pits, and more cotton meant more money. Money is the motivator. This is the story of the Mexican-American War, crafted by Tubbz and Kevin Sittner. Before the 16th century, Mexico had been populated only with Native Americans. However, Spanish explorers like Hernando de Soto, Cabeza de Vaca, and Fray Marcos discovered what is now known as Mexico, in the search for gold in the 7 fabled cities of Cibola. The Spanish killed off most of the Native Americans and conquered all of the land that the natives had occupied. Many years later, Spanish inhabitants such as ranchers, vaqueros occupied Mexico, where missions, forts, ranches, and houses have been built. In 1821, Stephen Austin led settlers from the Missouri to Texas. The settlers swore that they would be rule-following citizens and converted to the religion known as Catholic. The same year, Mexico gained the independence from Spain and became its own nation after rebelling from Spanish rule. Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna became the ruler of Mexico and noticed that many conflicts between the Anglo and Mexicans in Texas. By 1822, Stephen Austin had already started a colony on the lower Colorado River. The first 300 families of the American farmers and settlers became known as the Old 300. The Old 300 did not live up to their early promise, as they broke many laws, wanted freedom of religion, and wanted to own slaves, which was declared illegal in Mexico. Tension grew in the late 1835s, so many Anglos rebelled and attacked San Antonio, taking battery rams to the houses of Mexican inhabitants. Antonio Lopez, known as the American Army, knew the American Army was much weaker than the American fighters, and the Americans knew it too. However, Santa Anna and his troops marched towards Texas with his army in hopes to make Anglos retreat. Although some went back to the United States, the few who remained gathered on the Alamo, the chapel of a walled mission in San Antonio. After camping out at the Alamo, the Americans decided to fight on March 2nd, 1836. The Americans had many influential fighters like Davy Crockett, Jim Brown, and many others. After 4 more days of fighting, the Alamo fell to Santa Anna and his troops. Meanwhile, a battle occurred in the Goliad, in which approximately 330 Americans surrendered and were all murdered. Finally, a leader named Sam Houston and his followers agreed to fight Santa Anna in the Battle of San Jacinto. Although the Americans were outnumbered, they were smart about their attack. They waited until siesta hour, which was the time after lunch that most Mexicans napped. During this time period, Houston and his followers captured Santa Anna and made many Americans surrender and retreat. Santa Anna was forced to sign a treaty which declared Texas as an independent nation. Sam Houston became the president of his new nation, but wanted Texas to become a new part of the United States. That, however, would not have happened in this foreseeable future, at least for another 10 years. Texas joined the Union as a slave state. The South would have more votes in Congress than the North would, which would create serious problems. Regardless, James K. Polk was elected president and during his term and made Texas the 28th state. Tensions were growing not only between Mexican Americans, but also abolitionists and slave owners. Mexico thought that Texas border lay along the Nueces River. The Americans thought the border went on the Rio Grande River, and also believed that Mexico owed a large amount of money to the American citizens. President Polk ordered General Zachary Taylor to command an army to the area near the Nueces and Rio Grande rivers, and he did in 1846. His troops camped near the town of Matamoros. In April, the two armies clashed. The U.S. suffered many casualties, and in the aftermath of the fight, President Polk announced the start of the Mexican-American War. Mexican forces were defeated by the United States Army in the Bear Flag Revolt with the help of Zachary Taylor once again. Another important battle was the Battle of Chapultepec, which declared yet another victory for the United States over Mexico at Chapultepec Castle in 1847. The Americans were led by Winfield Scott, a general who would later become a national hero. The war came to an end in February of 1848. After Scott took Mexico City, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed, officially ending the war and declaring a victory for the United States in the increasing of nationalism. The United States received much of Mexico's territory, including California, Nevada, Utah, most of Arizona, and New Mexico, as well as parts of Colorado and Wyoming. These territories were known as the Mexican Cession, so called because Mexico ceded a large amount of its land to the U.S. that the United States paid Mexico $15 million in exchange for its territory. At this time, many people were not aware, but a new precious metal would soon be fought for John Sutter in California, a very valuable metal. This finding would cause even more people to travel westward and even foreigners to immigrate to the United States. America was about to change.